charges of knowingly entering any restricted building without lawful authority, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building, and several other charges. According to federal court documents, the FBI was able to identify Rader based on...
A Sioux City man faces federal charges for his alleged role in the January 6th U.S. Capitol riots. Court documents which were filed with the D.C. District Court show Kenneth Rader of Sioux City faces 4 charges, including knowing...
The Sioux City man is now the 7th Iowan to face charges for taking part in...
January 6, 2021. We all remember that day, or at the very least, we all know what took place on that cold January morning. I know I do, but then, for good reason. I had a feeling that things were going to get out of hand, but I never believed for a second that what took place would ever happen. Actually, I believed that I was going to save someone. I didn't know who, just someone. Up until this moment, I never really had the opportunity to say what my motivation was for going to D.C. on January 6th. Well, I had been given the opportunity to, but when I did, nobody would print it. I did a few interviews with some local newspapers about my experience, including what drove me to the lengths I went. But for some reason, they wouldn't print what I said. I will credit the Sioux City Journal, though, for being as close to honest as they could when printing the interview. They honestly wanted to know the truth, and they wanted the readers to know the truth. However, sometimes the truth is contradictory to the certain narrative being pushed, and very pertinent information is omitted as to not fall in line with that narrative. My interview with William Morris, crime reporter for the Des Moines Register, is a prime example. So why did I go? Well, in order for me to explain, we'd have to take it back to around the end of 2018, the start of 2019, to a time where I would say everything was normal. Let's rewind everything back to normal times, and I'll start there. Towards the end of 2018 was pretty exciting for me. I was in a rock band that went by the name of Good Riddance. Yep, that's those you hear right now. I was a songwriter for the band as well as playing rhythm guitar. I worked for one of the best tile installation companies in Sioux City, and I had a really hot girlfriend. Good Riddance was a really talented band. Our singer, Josh, man, he could sing his ass off. I mean, listen to this voice.
I'm sure you heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. And I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do.
Damn, he could go up and hit that money spot. And not to pat myself on the back too hard, I have to say that I knew how to write them songs that showcase his voice. Like many of the famous rock bands, we had talent on that level. But you know what? We also had the habits too. Most of us guys were messed up on alcohol or drugs. Hell, our lead guitarist was a jack of all trades when it come to bad habits. He was either all pilled up or drunk off his ass. Others were, well, we were hooked on meth. It was the end of 2018 when, while on probation for, well, possession of methamphetamine, I failed a UA for using, you guessed it, methamphetamine. Not good. I could have been violated and sent to prison for 30 years, and with an 8-year mandatory. Instead of doing this, my attorney, my probation officer, and the state's attorney, they all agreed to give me a chance, provided I go to treatment. It was this decision that turned my life around. I went to treatment and then to the Granby House, which is a transitional living house with 12 guys adjusting to their new lives. I stayed there until March 1st, 2019, and that's when I began writing my book, Psychotic Monkey. It wasn't but 18 days later when I finished part 1 of the book, and I felt that was enough to shop it out. I received a book deal from Vim Publishing. I remember the date so clearly. It was March 19th, my 51st birthday. I dove into the writing the rest of the book, which wasn't an easy task, but considering had I been all messed up on drugs still, it would never happen at all. I wouldn't have been able to successfully complete my probation in September either. Yes, I did it. One of the perks of being on probation, I was now able to vote for the very first time in my life. Now who would believe earning my vote back would be what would put me in again? 2020 was a life-changing year for me. It was around this time when I began to see everything so clearly. One of the most profound predictions I made in 2020 that came to be was America rioting. Coming up towards the middle of 2020, I knew that they were doing anything they could to get the American citizens to riot, or even cause a civil war. On May 10th, 2020, I posted on Facebook, prediction, America's about to riot. On May 25th, just 15 days later, George Floyd was killed during a police encounter in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And 16 days after I predicted it, America was rioting from coast to coast. When I initially posted that prediction, the comments made on it were insulting. Most called me crazy or a conspiracy theorist. I can't say I was overjoyed when I reshared that post with the question, I'm not so crazy now, am I? This is where we get to answering why. The summer of 2020 sealed my fate. I couldn't believe the lengths the Democrat Party was going to incite the riots. The turning point? David Dorn. Who's David Dorn? David Dorn was a 78-year-old black man who had done everything in life right. He finished school, went into the police academy, and after graduating, he began his career as a street cop for the St. Louis Police Department. Dorn worked his way up the ladder, finally achieving the top position, chief of police. Here we have a black man who did everything right in life, who was able to work his way to becoming the top cop in St. Louis. Dorn would eventually retire, wanting to enjoy the rest of his life with his many grandchildren. Unfortunately, tragedy struck for Dorn in the summer of 2020. St. Louis was one of the many cities engulfed in flames and riddled with violence in the George Floyd riots. At this time, Dorn was working part-time for a friend who owned a pawn shop in downtown St. Louis. Not really for the money, more for his friend. During the riot, the alarm at the pawn shop had gone off, and so Dorn had gone down to investigate what it was. Upon entering the pawn shop from the busted down door, he encountered several looters who were about to exit with stolen TVs and other items. Being startled by Dorn's sudden appearance, one of the looters pulled out a gun and fired a shot. It struck Dorn in the head, killing him almost instantly. But here's the worst part. The crowd that had gathered had been broadcasting everything live on Facebook. The world got to witness this innocent man get killed live. And more disturbing was the crowd cheering as they yelled, Black Lives Matter. How can that be? When this black man, his life didn't matter. It did to me. That moment changed me. I can honestly say that it traumatized me. I know it did something to me because I have not felt normal since that day. I saw the power of manipulation and how people in our own government, the mainstream media, they were behind this innocent man's death. It changed me forever. In January of 2021, I knew the rally was coming to Washington, D.C. I had considered going and then not, and then at the last second, I decided that there was no possible way I could not go. What changed my mind? I can tell you with conviction, it was David Dorn. Having witnessed so many people, innocent, elderly people, being victimized in the summer of 2020, had I not gone and another David Dorn gotten murdered, I couldn't have lived with myself. If I couldn't be there to save him or at least jump in front of the bullet and take it for him, I don't think I could have moved on. In the end, my reason to go into Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021, but it would be for one reason and one reason only. And that reason was David Dorn.
I woke up early this morning, hoping it was a dream. But your old chair sits empty there. You left so suddenly. We lost another good man, a precious work of art. But we will hold your smile in our hearts. And I know the pain will fade one day, but I just need to say goodbye, my friend. Goodbye, my friend. I hope we meet one day again. Goodbye, my friend. Goodbye, my friend. Goodbye. Goodbye, my friend. I know you're up there on that stage, playing on those keys, and the tears we cried down here will turn to memories. You taught our minds, you touched our souls, you changed our lives, and you should know there'll never be another one like you. I wish I could have told you what you meant to me. I wish I could have really said goodbye. I wish I could have shook your hand, looked you in the eye, and said you made a difference in my life. So goodbye, goodbye, my friend. Goodbye, my friend. I hope we meet one day again. Goodbye, my friend. Goodbye, my friend. I hope we meet one day again. Goodbye, my